chapter 2, From Trade to Territory. So, in this chapter, we'll be covering some of the major topics: European trading companies in India, motives of mercantile trading companies, British policies of expansion, wars with Hyder Ali and Tipu Sultan, wars with Maratha. So, these are the major topics that we are going to cover today. So, moving to the first topic, that is European trading companies in India. So if you see European trading companies, so we have already studied the European trading companies in chapter 2 about the brief introduction, how was European trading companies got established and every aspect of European trading companies and some of the minority information also we have already learned in chapter 2. And with that sort of understanding, we are moving to this chapter. So if you see in early the first, in India, the first European trading companies who came to India is the Portuguese. So they reached in India about 16th century, and their main they have secured some of the main rights from local rulers to trade in India, and they established their colonial settlement in the western coast of India, and through the most important place they focused for their landing was Calicut. Now it's presently known as Kozhikode, and their most important colonial settlements were located in Goa, Daman, and Diu. And majorly there were European trading companies who came to India. Was majorly there was three, and the first company is English East Indian Company, and the second company is Dutch East Indian Company, and the third company is French East Indian Company. So we are going to study analyze in a small summary about all these companies. The first company we are going to view is English East Indian Company. So if you see English East Indian companies, these companies consist of group of nine private companies ruled by a board of directors, and it received the Charter of England and Queen Elizabeth from Rule 1 in 1600, through which it got the sole rights of trade with East. And there was a there's a competition between English East Indian Company and various other companies which is existed in the country. And if you see, the Captain William Hawkins is the leader of the first group of traders of English East Indian Company that reached India. In 1615, Sir Thomas Roe, head of the delegation, James first of England, visited the court sent off by the King Mughal Emperor Jahangir. After the event, they had granted rights to set up factories in Calcutta, Surat, Bombay, Madras, Pattanam. Soon after the establishment, most of these were converted into forts by them. So if you see, most of the English East Indian Company and other East Indian Company, whenever they select a place for trade or setting up the company, they always make sure that it is near to the coastal regions or near to the Indian subcontinent. They have selected up. We are going to see the Dutch East Indian Company. The Dutch East Indian Company was formed in 1602, and the establishment of trading centers of factories along near to the coastal areas, same as the East Indian companies have. In Pattanam, they established the first factory, and later they also have established in Chinsura, Pulikat, and Surat. In different places, they also established some of the factories by Dutch East Indian Company. And now we are going to view about the French East Indian Company. The French East Indian Company was established in 1664, and this was set up. The factory was set up in Pondicherry, and later this setup was set up in centers near the Madras, and they was also have factories near to the near to in Bengal, and they were have very strongest of rival of English East Indian Company. The rivals in the sense that always French East Indian Company and English East Indian Company have some kind of competition among themselves regarding the trade and regarding the product they produce. Always they had some kind of competition among them, and they are kind of rivals. And during Joseph Duplessis, the time of that is the French governor, Joseph Duplessis is the French governor. During his time, there were different type of fights and different type of rivalry becomes very intense during this time of the French governor Joseph the Duplessis. Now we are going to the next topic, that is motives of mercantile trading companies. So when the trading companies when they reach India, they have some kind of motives within themselves. The main motive was to make profit maximization. That was the main motive. And the word mercantile is means that is enterprise, and the main motive of the trading companies or mercantile companies was to make a different kind of product with cheaper price in India, and to sell those goods at higher prices outside India and also within India. So that was the major motive of the mercantile trading companies, and they bought different kind of goods, and I mean, they wanted to make India as a monopoly market in which only their mercantile trading company should be exist, and all the rest of the companies which is prevalent in India should not have any kind of trade or any kind of production, and it becomes a deindustrialization. And we have seen what is deindustrialization in chapter 2. And from 1750, industrialization started in Britain and France and underwent industrial revolution. Soon after, in about 120 years, most of the countries in Europe were industrialized, and thus need for the market and colonies arose, and it led to the bit competition among the European powers, and trade, and where there were various n number of colonies also were set up in India based on this trade. And mercantile trading companies were majorly they were focusing about the different kind of spices and different kind of products that was exist in India, and they were trying to make more cheaper products, and being sell with a higher price, and profit was their main motive of mercantile trading companies. And if you see on the image of this screen, you'll be able to see different countries in which you will be able to see four different companies, that is the it is East Indian Company, English East Indian Company, then French East Indian Company, then Dutch and Portuguese. So different countries and different mercantile companies have situated different of their branches of factories in various countries, and you'll be able to see their markings on each of the every countries. And even India, if you see most of these places situated, you'll be able to see these places are near to the coastal regions or near to the kind of an oceans, and near to the oceans they used to settle all these kind of places. And if you see in India, you'll be able to see most of the places they are settled is near to the south, near to the west and east, and so most of the Surat, Bombay, Goa, Calcutta were the major places. And over here they have selected Pondicherry. So this is the place of Pondicherry lies, and so these are the places they used to have ports and everything. And here lies one is Pondicherry, Madras, Pulikkad, and Musalipuram. So these are the places too. They used to have different type of trade relationship with India. So in the end of 18th century, English and French dominated trade in India, and it is important to remember that trade companies flourish by eliminating rivals companies. That is, most of the trade companies were having competition. Since competition was existing, every company was developing different type of trade relationship with different countries, and most of the countries where were these trade. I mean, these trading companies has dominated different type of colonies set up in which this is not good for any country, but it is the country's development will be going a diminishing manner. And each trading company built forts around its factory in a way that they will be able to get the goods and services within the factory itself. And each companies try to prevent supply of goods and shrink each other's ship, and all this led to rivalry between English East Indian Company and French company. So most of the time English East Indian Company and French companies have different type of fights among within themselves regarding the trade, and different type of their rules and regulations regarding the trade. And however, English East Indian Company eventually won all the battles, and other trading companies were soon outside by the English East Indian Company. So when the English East Indian Company was having more domination and more controlling power, rest of the other countries was not able to sustain, and English East Indian Company was dominating than the other companies of the trading companies, and other trading companies was not able to succeed as I mean as same as the English East Indian Company. And English East Indian Company was encountering over the all countries during those periods. And next we are going to see the British policies of expansion. If you see, there are basically three policies of expansion. The first policy is the policy of direct conquest. The first policy, the direct conquest, in the sense that during those time different type of wars and different type of wars and conquer was take place. And due to this, I mean lot many kingdoms and people used to I mean British used to accumulate the wealth and different regions based on these policies. And next is the policy of expansion. The policy of expansion is also called as subsidiary alliance. This is the principle, or this policy is introduced by Lord Wensley, a British Governor General, and this policy mainly is stress that to expand the colonial empire. And this principle was based on certain condition that ruler have to accept in lieu of getting British protection against his enemies. That is the reason why this policy of expansion was framed up, and this policy is also known as subsidiary alliance. And next is regarding the policy of doctrine of lives. This policy was introduced by Lord Dalhousie, the British Governor General in India between 1848 and 1856. So according to the policy of doctrine of lives, any princely states or any territory that comes under the British East Indian Company would automatically be annealed with the ruler, and either incumbent and have had died without a direct or descendant. So this can because of so due to this, this policy is being framed, the policy of doctrine of lapse. We are going to find the important factors that helped rise of India, the rise of British. So if you see some of the important factors that helped the rise of British was that during the decline of Mughal Empire, there was no powerful rulers during those times. So this creates some of the this create British to dominate over India, and most of the state were independent, and that paved a way for domination and make the I mean British or these trading companies came to India as a trading, but gradually these traders try to make change as a ruler and try to rule the Indian contest. And since the Indian states were not that united together, so the trading companies, they try to make fight between each individual towards individual, and each state among states. So they started fight of each other, and this creates some of the rise of British. And the British policy divides some of the rules of social caste, social class division, everything. And the British has emerged so far with powerful empire after Industrial Revolution. After Industrial Revolution, in this chapter 2, we have seen how British was able to make a different drastic change over in the policies of in the policies, and different kind of overall change in India. Now we are going to see wars with Hyder Ali and Tipu Sultan. If you see Hyder Ali and Tipu Sultan, both rulers from Mysore, you can see in the map. You'll be able to see. The Mysore region is situated here, and this is the place where the Hyder Ali and Tipu Sultan had war with British. That is East Indian war with the East Indian Company, and Anglo-Mysore War. This is the war that take place in the later half of 18th century, and this war is taking place between the Kingdom of Mysore and the English East Indian Company. And if you see, the beginning of this war is being done by Hyder Ali, that is Tipu Sultan's father. And Hyder Ali was the one of the important reason for starting the first Anglo-Mysore War. The reason why English East Indian Company started this war, because the English East Indian Company needs some of the spices like pepper, cardamom, and so this is the reason why they started this war with Mysore Kingdom and the Kingdom of Mysore. And say the first war, British was not able to succeed it up, and the second war was done by Hyder Ali's son, that is Tipu Sultan, and he was able to defeat the second war of British. And the third war also, in the third war, Tipu Sultan he stopped sending exporting some of the products such as sandalwood, pepper, cardamom from the ports of his kingdom. So that was the kind of war he was taking up. And the fourth war, that is fourth Anglo-Mysore War, Tipu Sultan is known as the Tiger of Mysore. He lost his life in the fourth Anglo-Mysore War, and English East Indian Company given this Mysore, that is the kingdom of Mysore, the royal house to the Udiyas, who had been the trading rulers of the state. So that is how the wars with the Hyder Ali and Tipu Sultan have come to an end in the later half of 18th century. And next we are going to see the last topic of this chapter, that is wars with Marathas. So in this chapter, there are majorly three wars that fought between the British and Marathas. They are called as Anglo-Maratha Wars. So if you see the Anglo-Maratha Wars, the first Anglo-Maratha Wars that is started between 1775 and lasted till 1782. The second Anglo-Maratha War is started from 1803 to 1805, and the third Anglo-Maratha War started between 1817 to 1819. So if you see each of these Maratha War, you'll be able to see conflict between the British and Maratha, and British was supporting some of the rulers within which was assisting in some of the kingdoms, and the British motive was to, was to take away all the, all the kind of kingdoms, and they were able to take it up. But some of the, since the Anglo-Maratha War was going on, they were not able to dominate all the kingdoms or all the kind of rulers in all the periods. So some of the since this war was dominating, British was not able to overcome the scenario. So in this chapter, in this chapter 2 of history, that is from trade to territory. So from trade to territory, we have seen the first is about the Portuguese who came to India in the later century of 16th century, and after that we have seen different companies who came to India for trade, and we have seen how British was able to dominate India, and how India was prevalent during those times, and we have seen different kind of wars during this period. So this is about the trade to territory chapter. So that is about today's class. I hope you understand the lesson from trade to territory. Thank you, my dear students.